Okay, the question is your first big trip. Tell us some.
Yeah. When you tell me when you're ready.
Go ahead.
Okay. We left the house December 29th. Got on the train in Milwaukee. Met the rest of them that were going there. And then we went to Milwaukee. We got down there and they put us in a Republican hotel. I don't remember how many days. I think it was 3 or 4. Well, went through our physical or the orientation and whatever you have, and then they put us on the train again. Only this time it headed south. And it wasn't a fast mover, of course. We got down along the Gulf. There, I think it even went slower yet. If the train, I was always sitting by a window. If the train turned this way, I could see downwind, and I could see all the stops we were going to go at.
That's how flat it was?
Yeah, it was. Well, I can't tell you no more how far apart, but they weren't that far apart.
Mm-hmm.
But they were all milk cans.
Oh.
Were out by there, and they would stop, and a guy would jump off. He'd load them on the car, and they'd go to the next one. And as far as I could see, there was cans of milk,
Okay.
That was only if the curve was right. If it curved out, I didn't see them. If it curved in, I could see it way down.
What are you doing? I forgot where I got the.
Don't worry about it.
Oh.
We don't need it.
All right. Okay. So where were you going?
From Milwaukee to San Antonio, Texas. That's where you was in the Air Force. You had your first. You had your physical, your orientation, your uniforms, and then at that time they had some tents down between the two roads, and you stayed in them, and you whatever meeting you had for you to learn what was going on, or this, that, and the next thing, meals and stuff like that, and then they had. It was on the train. It was the pilot car, and you slept on bunks. I think there was 2, one and one above. I think that's the way it was.
Yeah.
And it seemed like it was going to never get there.
I suppose, especially if it's going slow.
What year? 51. Did I know anybody else? No.
You were there all
Not that. Oh, wait a minute. I'll take that back. There was 2 of them from my when I had gone to Appleton West, or Appleton at that time.
Yeah.
There was 2 of them from that class were also in that group.
Oh.
I think if I remember right, there was 8 of us.
From Appleton?
7 or 8, something like it was about right.
Did you keep in touch with any of them?
Huh?
Did you keep in touch with any of them?
Did I keep in touch with who?
Them?
No.
No. Oh.
They went to the same place, you know,
Yeah.
and they, depending upon what their classification was and what they were going to be trained for, they stayed together or they went in their own directions.
Mm-hmm. What were you trained for?
Aircraft welding.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Do you think that's a good question?
As I remember now, the two that were from Appleton, two, they also went the same place.
Okay.
One used politics and got out of the service early through his dad, you know.
Uh-huh.
And the other one, I went west, and he went to, gosh, I can't remember now. It was overseas anyway.
Okay.
That was, oh gosh, I don't remember his name. How did you find out we were going? What do you mean?
To Korea.
Well, where did you go after San Antonio?
Huh?
Where did you go after San Antonio?
Did I go after?
San Antonio. After.
Oh, San Antonio. Well, they had it was a big new bunch was going in, and they were trying to put here where wherever they could do it, you know, and we were going to be transferred from there. Those that were going to schools close by stayed there, and we left. We got on a bus and headed north into Texas. And do you suppose I can remember the name of it? It was along the southern border.
Sugarland?
Huh?
Sugarland? No.
Did he enlist?
That's a
That's
good
what I'm
question.
getting at. Did he enlist or was he drafted or was... Read your question so I can...
Bud did. He was in the army. Mutz, no.
Okay, so only Mutz, of your two brothers, only Mutz went into the service, or Bud did. He went into the army. Were you, here, let me rate this out.
Mutz is the one that should have went in.
Were you,
That says where.
I enlisted.
oh, really?
I enlisted on my birthday.
Why?
See, I was a senior in high school in 1950. And the Koreans had crossed the line. And I remember when I lived in Appleton, what happened when the war started. So I knew where I was going. It was just a matter of time.
Was it better to enlist than be drafted?
Huh?
Was it better to be enlisted than to be drafted?
I don't know. Probably a little bit. It probably ended with a little bit more selection, you know. That would depend upon the people doing it, you know.
Yeah.
If they were had a bad day, let's put it that way.
Okay. So after San Antonio, you went north?
What?
After San Antonio, you went north?
Let's see, San Antonio. Oh boy, the wheels just don't turn like they should.
It's okay.
San Antonio. I remember we went north. No, I'll take that back. Let me think this over. Yeah, we completed what we were supposed to do there. They took us down to the flight line, and there was a commercial aircraft standing there, and they put 8 or 10 of us on that plane, and we headed. We ended up south of Chicago, in where there's a military base there. I can't remember. Never can remember the name of it. But that's where we ended up in processes. And
Was that boot camp?
we were about 80 to 100 miles south of Chicago.
Ask that question. Because I'm curious, what's basic training? What was in San Antonio? What was here? What were the different? Or what did he do at that base?
At what base?
Chicago.
It was South Chicago. That's where the Wells School was.
Oh, that's where you learn to weld?
Yeah, that's where the schools were.
Oh, okay.
And I remember when you had completed the course, that then you went over to what's kind of like the orderly room, and you sat around while they determined where you were going. This, that, next thing, and they had a second floor there. I don't remember exact order or way it was, but one time I was supposed to go to California. One time I was supposed to go to northern Wisconsin. There was about 4 or 5 different places. I finally ended up just going to South Dakota.
Of all places, South Dakota.
Rapid City.
Okay, what was there?
That's where the school was
School for what?
for welding.
Well, I thought you did that in Chicago.
No, they had a lot of money to spend, so they moved you around, you know. I mean, that's sometimes you wonder what is going on, you know.
Yeah. So they just saw in Chicago. They just wanted to see if you could weld.
Huh?
In Chicago, never mind. So you went to school to learn welding in South Dakota?
Yeah, and it's just south of Chicago. What is the name of it?
No big deal. I'll look it up.
Did he learn to weld in both cities?
Yeah, it was. Gosh, I wish I could. I remember.
But Rapid City is where you learned mostly to.
No, you only learned to weld in one city, and that's I can't think of the name of it. It was about 80 miles south of Chicago.
Okay, so then when you went to Rapid City, South Dakota, what did you learn there?
Huh?
What did you learn in South Dakota?
What did I learn?
Yeah.
In South Dakota.
That's where I went. That's where they, after I had completed my course in welding, that's where they stationed me.
Oh.
That was going to be my base.
Oh, okay. What's the name of that base?
Rapid City, South Dakota. Good old boring.
I'll bet.
You know, if you had a car, it was one thing. If you didn't, man, I'm surprised how much of this I can't remember.
Cut me a little bit of that. Now that I have coffee.
Oh boy.
You don't remember the name of the base you were stationed?
We'll get more if you want.
Where at Rapid City?
Yeah.
It was Ellsworth Air Force Base.
Ellsworth. Okay. Oh, good. Good.
Yeah.
And how long were you there?
About 2 years.
Oh, wow.
Well, what did he do for those 2 years?
What do you do for 2 years in an Air Force base?
Huh?
What do you do for 2 years at an Air Force base?
Not a hell of a lot.
Were you able to go home?
I mean, when you're,
Yeah, you're not that far.
you gotta remember, Rapid City is out nowhere, you know. So it's not like you walk across the street so it wasn't really that bad because, well,
You learned how to gamble?
some of them had an awful time of it, but they had expectations that were not realistic,
Yeah.
you know. And
I think it's a good question. Was he able to go home and visit grandma? Or his family? That says where?
What the hell is the matter with me today? Okay. Were you able to go home for visits?
Yeah, you had 30 days a month, a year.
Oh.
And you could use them the way you wanted to, you know.
Well,
But
that's
the
as
thing of it
strict as I
is,
thought.
like Rapid City, transportation was such that you sometimes you would book say a train. That's what I used to take. But you'd get on the train at 6 o'clock at night, and at 6 o'clock the next morning, you were still in South Dakota. I mean, it wasn't a fast mover.
You used to have all your time just going home.
I mean, I'm not exaggerating either. That was the way it was. It wasn't the worst place to be, but if you had a car, it was a lot better. But I didn't, and
Yeah.
I just you learn to live with it, you know.
Did you write letters to Mom?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. What was she doing while you were?
If I remember right, she wasn't even talking to me when I left. So
Was she mad?
I wrote a letter to her. I remember that. And in fact, it was February 2nd that I did that.
Was she mad that you enlisted?
No, she could have cared less. We had a different relationship at that time.
Apparently.
See, she was 13 and I was 15.
Yeah.
And we used to sit on I think I told you this, we used to sit on underneath the fruit trees along the road. You know where she lived.
Yeah.
Well, right there, we would sit there and just gabber and talk about schools and that kind of crap, you know, like that. I remember one time I got the nerve I was going to try and kiss her.
Ooh.
Oh, you can't do that. My folks might be watching. So that never happened.
Grandma didn't never seem like a goody two shoes to me.
And you know, she was the youngest of 6,
Don't get too
and I was the oldest of 4.
So why was she mad that you?
Huh?
Why wasn't she talking to you when you left?
She was different.
We know.
And she was kind of special to me. So I watched out for her. And I would say, don't do that. It makes you look bad. Don't tell me what to do. And that was, finally, I just quit doing it, you know. And, I mean, it took a lot. I had a stone head, and I didn't sink in very until, I don't remember, all of a sudden, you might as well shut your mouth. And,
All right. After San Antonio?
No, after South Dakota.
South Dakota. After South Dakota, where did you go?
after South Dakota, came home, got married, and then went to the coast,
The coast?
took a ship over to Korea, or was it Japan yet? Oh yeah, we to Japan, went to Japan, and we stood around there for a while, and then they loaded us on a smaller ship, and we went around the southern part of, we crossed the international date line April 1st, so it went from March 30th to April 2nd.
Did you have a separate one for Korea? So we'll just...
Well, yeah, I think we stop when he gets there.
Okay.
But I'm curious what that ship ride was like.
Ship ride?
Yeah. Read it.
What was the ship ride like?
It was a big one, a big troop carrier, and there was, oh gosh, I forget how many was on there. But you slept in bunks, and some of them, it was, the bunks were 3 high. One was almost on the floor. You could roll out of the thing right onto the floor. And then there was in between, and then the one way on top. And it seemed like always the guy that was on top would get seasick.
Oh.
Well, you can imagine what happened when it hit the floor,
Was it smooth sailing?
Yeah.
No
It
storms?
was a big thing.
Yeah.
It was a USS Man.
Oh, okay.
And it's scrapped now. They sold it to Japan and they cut it up. That's maybe 5 years ago now.
Huh. Wow. It was in service for quite a while then.
Yeah, I tell you. Let's see.
Do you think we have enough for...
I think so.
Yeah, the service was interesting. You just didn't think for yourself. They pretty much did your thinking for you.
Yeah.
Ask how his family reacted to an enlisting.
It's fine that you can drink it.
How did your family react to you enlisting?
I don't recall anything. This maybe sounds funny, but when I left, part of their income went with me.
Yeah, I'll bet. That's why I wondered. Was your mom okay with it?
See, my dad was in for 8 days in World War One. He got there and it was over with. So so they sent him back home.
That's funny. I didn't know that.
How did your family react to you enlisting? I don't know. Things weren't going all that great there. There was the three boys and the queen,
And Queen.
and
Who's that?
the
Queen
queen did nothing. The boys washed the dishes. Well, let's put it that back. Go take that back. I washed the dishes. I washed the clothes. I hung up the clothes. If freezing line and go out and put it on there. And but I can remember this much. I did it as much as I could just so that my mom didn't have to. She was for a little bit heavy for one thing, and she couldn't get around too good. But she always treated me right, and my dad,
Not so much.
it wasn't the best relationship.
Anything else?
Well, so we talked about he enlists.
It would have been better if I'd have just shut my mouth. But I never, I never did, and that in them days they had a copper, I forget what they call it, but it was oval shaped. And I'd put that on the burners in the basement, and I'd fill it with water, light the burners. When it was hot, by that time I had the washing machine located, and the two rinse tubs. The bluing was put in the tub, and everything taken care of. And then when it was hot enough, I put the hot water in the washing machine, and I washed all the clothes. And dry, like I say, I would take and hang them outside to dry.
Wait,
I know.
I got something.
Well, you read
Oh,
it.
go ahead.
Budding mutts, they were too young. Like I say, the queen didn't have to do anything. And
What did she do?
huh?
What did she do all day?
Pretty much laid on the bed in her bedroom. I mean, it just maybe sounds terrible, but I'm just telling you what it was.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
So San Antonio is where he did basic training? Okay.
That's a good question.
Not really. It was, you go to San Antonio, and then they put you on a bus wherever you were going. There were some of them training was right in there, but in my case, they put us on a bus, and we went up to, gosh, I can't remember the name of that place. It was in Texas, way on the border. Like,
Northern.
I want to say trees, but it's not trees.
Was it northern or southern?
Huh?
Northern or southern?
North of San Antonio,
Yeah, well,
like Dallas.
yeah, see,
Waco.
Waco's by San Antonio.
Yeah, it's north though.
4 wheels and no brakes.
So he must not have been in San Antonio long.
Yeah, it just,
So, Dad, was your basic training in South Dakota?
huh?
Was your basic training in South Dakota?
Was I what?
Was basic training in South Dakota?
I didn't have, there I actually did the welding.
Oh,
They taught to stuff. I was supposed to go to South Dakota. At one time, I was supposed to go to Greenland.
ooh,
At one time, I was going. Where the hell was it?
I mean, basic training is a thing, right?
well, I'm beginning to think not for everybody.
I forget now. Basic training was. That's what I'm trying to think of. It was north of San Antonio.
Okay.
What it was, right about in the middle of the state, only along the border, the southern border.
Was it a big city? Big city?
Huh?
Was it a big city?
It's like trees. I don't the name of trees or something. I forget. That may be wrong, but
Here, I can there's Lubbock, there's Midland.
oh gosh.
Here, I'm just gonna list some out.
If I remember, it was something Pines. Not Whispering Pines, but wasn't Pines either. But
this is nice.
some of them did their basic in San Antonio, and I was in the group that went up there.
I didn't know Carrie was in Cottage Grove.
I mean, the basic was done in San Antonio. How to go do all the crap that you had to do as a listed man,
Yeah.
if there was officers present and stuff like that. But and I think it depended upon what kind of schooling you what kind of some of the stuff you probably didn't even get it,
Yeah. I suppose.
That's so long ago.
Okay. Anything else?
So we know how he enlisted. We know that he took a train down to Milwaukee, stayed at a hotel, and then took a train to San Antonio. That's where basic was, and then he got more training in a city we don't know the name of it.
Yeah.
North or south?
Could be.
Let's not clarify that. Okay, and then from there went up to south of Chicago, right? And then
Did he go to South Dakota?
after he went to the south of Chicago.
Oh, I missed that. Okay.
And
Boy,
then
you're
from
all over
South
the States.
Dakota, and then from South Dakota went to, he said the coast, but I'm guessing it was probably California.
Yeah, he was. Where in California, Dad?
Huh?
Where did you ship out in California?
Where's what?
Where did you ship out in California?
To go overseas?
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
It'd be easier if they were common cities.
Yeah. Apparently it's not.
I told you I can't remember nothing.
It's okay if it's just generically California too.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal.
That's fine.
I guess the only other question that I would have is if he has any good stories.
I remember we went underneath the San Francisco Bridge.
Oh, that is a good question.
It was like right near Oakland, someplace.
Oh, okay. Oh, you did go under the Golden Gate Bridge?
There's
Huh?
a couple bridges, big bridges over there.
Was it the Golden Gate Bridge?
I've gone under it. I've flown over it. Now I got to drive over it.
I rode a bike on
And there
it.
was no way I was going to do that because I ain't going to drive in California.
It's actually not that bad.
No, the pilot made a point of when we came back to the States, he made a point of flying low right over the top of the Golden Gate Bridge.
That's cool.
Get crumbs all over me.
Be nice if a guy could remember stuff.
That's right.
These travels.
Yeah. Or those days.
Do you have any good stories from these travels?
Good stories from these travels. I'm sure there is, but now I can't think of a thing.
Do you remember the names of any of your buddies from then?
Give him some time to think of some
No,
stories.
I thought maybe the
like I
buddies.
say, I can't remember nothing.
Okay.
But if it's any consolation, I didn't like California.
It makes no difference to me. All right. I think this is okay.
I do. I think that's good.
Oh, okay, that's good.
Good.
Did you look at this? Any?
Sandwich train to start USAF career and basic training.
Yeah.
Milk pickup, sleeping bunks. Slow moving to Texas, Quincy next stop, or Quincy next stop. Curve was right, even sight.
Mm-hmm. Isn't sure that's really cute.
Yeah, good.
Actually, hold on, Scott. Can we keep this?
I mean, it was
Oh, never mind.
interesting. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it's something new. It's always interesting if you
Yeah.
let it,
Totally,
you
yeah.
know. But it's it's here and it's gone. And
What's the question for next week?
There's two of them. Did you stop that? You can stop that now.